Greetings from South Korea. I am Arirang News AI anchor. Here is the news-making headlines today. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung held a summit with To Lam, Vietnam's top leader and General Secretary of the Communist Party, in Hanoi on Wednesday. High on the agenda was cooperation in trade, nuclear energy, supply chains and critical minerals. The two countries plan to increase bilateral trade to $150 billion a year by 2030. Before the summit, President Lee later read at the Ho Chi Minh Mausoleum. During his stay, the South Korean leader will meet Vietnamese Prime Minister Dae Min-hyeong and National Assembly Chairman John Tae-mon, ranked number 2 and number 3 respectively in the country's power structure. U.S. President Donald Trump has announced an open-ended extension of the temporary ceasefire with Iran. This comes just one day before the original 2-week truce was set to expire. In a Truth Social post on Wednesday, Trump stated that the military action will be put on hold as the government of Iran is seriously fractured, but he said the U.S. blockade of Iranian ports would remain in place until Tehran presents a unified proposal within the leadership. Meanwhile, the White House confirmed to reporters that U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance will no longer be traveling to Pakistan. He had been due to arrive there on Wednesday for planned peace talks. Iran has decided not to participate in a second round of ceasefire and peace talks with the United States, scheduled for Tuesday in Islamabad. According to Iran's semi-official Tasnim news agency on Tuesday, the decision was conveyed to Washington through mediator Pakistan, dealing a setback to ongoing diplomatic efforts. Tasnim reports that Tehran had initially agreed to negotiations under a U.S.-accepted 10-point framework, following Pakistan's mediation and a U.S. request for a ceasefire. However, Iran now accuses Washington of failing to uphold its commitments almost immediately after the agreement, citing that as the primary reason for pulling out. Tasnim added that a hostile U.S. response over reopening the Strait of Hormuz further influenced Tehran's decision. The agency said Iran now sees continued negotiations as futile, with little prospect of reaching a meaningful agreement under current conditions. On the economic front, South Korea's producer prices rose at their fastest pace in about 4 years in March, driven by higher global oil costs amid the Middle East conflict. According to the Bank of Korea on Wednesday, the producer price index rose 1.6% on month to 125.24, the sharpest increase since April 2022. On a yearly basis, prices climbed 4.1%, the fastest since February 2023. The surge was led by industrial goods, with coal and petroleum products jumping 31.9% and chemical products rising 6.7%. Producer prices are seen as a key indicator of inflation. South Korea's total birth rate has remained in the 0.9 range for the second consecutive month, driven by a sharp rise in newborns. The Ministry of Data and Statistics said on Wednesday that 22,898 babies were born in February. This is an increase of over 2,700 births, or 13.6%, from the same period last year. Since monthly statistics were first compiled in 1981, this represents the highest percentage increase ever recorded for the month of February. The total volume of the increase stands as the third largest in history. The agency attributes this demographic shift to marriage figures, which have consistently risen for 22 consecutive months, alongside changing perceptions toward family planning among women in their 30s. That is all from me today. Thank you for watching.